Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As I mentioned in last week's episode, a lot of cool stuff going on over here at Roofing Success. I'm putting a lot of more focus, more effort into the podcast and the content around it. So we just launched the new website, roofingsuccesspodcast.com. Check that out. The link is in the description. We're launching a new YouTube channel with just dedicated to the Roofing Success podcast. So go to YouTube and type in Roofing Success and subscribe to the new YouTube channel. In the meantime, I want to provide you with one more training that Adam Bensman, the roof strategist, founder of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, did for our special group, the Roofing Success Insider Group. Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast, your go-to source for insights and inspiration to achieve ultimate success in your roofing business. I'm your host, Jim Aline, the co-author of Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and the best-known roofer and the co-founder of Roofer Marketers. As part of the leadership team for the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, I'm here to bring you the best from the industry. In each episode, I sit down with top industry leaders to dive into their strategies and valuable lessons to help you find success in roofing. I hope you enjoyed last week's on the success formula. This week's is his ultimate step-by-step program for growing, paying, scaling your roofing sales team of closers. So how to attract closers by targeting 4 specific types of people, how to recruit fast, how to get sales reps who want to sell for you and not the competition, how to create great pay plans, and how to build a scalable recruiting system. So next week, we're going to be back to our interviews with a great interview on how to use AI in your roofing business. But for now, check out Adam's training. The most requested thing that we got was, how do we find good people, right? Good salespeople, good production people. Adam has a really good system around finding good salespeople, which can also lead to, I'm sure has some overlap into finding some good people on the production side and things like that. So Adam, if you want to take it over and from here.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Jim. And I love that you support your community by just enhancing their skill sets in all different areas outside of what they're working with you on. So super cool. Today we're going to talk recruiting, mostly on the salespeople front. I'm happy to field questions on the other stuff. Since we have a smaller group today, I want this to be about you guys. I've got stuff I want to cover, but feel free, please, to stop me, interrupt me. We can go deeper into some sections. I don't care if you say, hey, hit the accelerator, let's speed through this part. So this is about you. So again, if you guys have questions, let me know. Before we jump in, everyone here obviously knows that we're covering recruiting. Can I just hear from everybody what you'd like? Like if you could leave this with one thing, what would that be? I'm going to write it down so I know what to focus on. Michelle, can I throw you in the hot seat?
Absolutely. So for me, again, being new into this industry, it's just employing and retaining good staff. I'm primarily right now focused on the production side, but sales will become important down the road, I'm sure.
Cool.
Right now
Awesome.
It's being done in-house. So.
Got it. Retention piece. Perfect. Who's next?
I can go.
Go ahead.
Jim invites me somewhere, I just go. That's why I'm here. No, I think we're not really looking to grow much more, but the idea of just the retention is a big issue or something that's on my mind. And I see even we're okay in the sales department right now per se, but we're really, we could hire 10 more people if you can find them, but you just can't get good people.
Yeah, it's tough. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. John or Doug? Oh, Andrew, you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on participating. I thought we were going to get to hide behind a blank screen here. I think, for us, we're still growing and scaling. So I think the thing we've struggled with year over year is attracting the right kind of sales guys. Everywhere else, in-house guys, production, repair techs, things like that. It seems like it's not as difficult for us, but I think we struggle just in general in sales. I'm more of like a back house guy. I love selling, but I'm not good at leading a team of sales. So gotcha. I think that's why our company struggles in that.
Cool. So attracting the right people. Thank you. John, anything you guys want to chime in with?
Well, I think, finding people who are committed long-term, we kind of live in an age of instant gratification, and finding people that can look beyond the deal today, or, hey, this guy's going to pay me 5% more across the street.
Yeah.
And something interesting, Adam, about your presence here today is that, we just came out of a storm environment with a major hurricane, about $50 billion in damage. We don't know when the next one's coming. Hopefully it's not going to be this year. But our dynamic's a little bit different, because we need to knock doors for people who need roofs because they're getting old.
Yep.
But now they got to now they got to dig into their own pockets and do it.
Yeah.
And I know that your focus has always been on diamonds from the sky, and I'm wondering how we might be able to take some of your expertise and apply that to the retail world.
Yep. This will all apply to both, by the way.
Excellent.
So we're in a good spot. Doug, anything you want to add in?
I love my time.
No, I think John covered it pretty well. We're trying to build a team, and we're always looking for somebody that's a good fit, and that can be challenging. And we've seen some people come and people go. And so trying to get a fresh perspective, unique ideas on hiring practices, and finding that next right person is always good to listen to.
Awesome. Lots of themes here. Thank you, Doug. So we got, basically it boils down to finding the right people and keeping them is what the common thread that runs throughout.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody interviews well, but you don't know until you actually put them in, strap their butt to the seat, what they're really going to be like.
There's a great quote that I heard recently, John, and it's from a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he said, hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. Right. So that's a lot of the challenge. So
yeah, we're going to help take the guesswork out of the hiring, out of the hiring and the interview process. John, I made a note of that when you said everybody interviews well. I used to think that too. I'm going to teach you my style because it does things a little different. So let's jump in. Retention was the big thing. And a lot of the issues around retention, believe it or not, start at the hiring ad and continue with the interview and onboarding process. So most of the reason that it's the wrong person or they didn't fit are those two things. So we need to keep our attention focused there. I'm going to fast forward to the point of assuming that we have the right pay plans, the right incentives in place to keep the team performing. And then you know what? I'm going to backtrack. We're going to hit on that first. If you don't have your pay plan down before you hire, it's going to be problematic. In a nutshell, high level, I'm going to give you my belief. Okay. You're going to hear different beliefs from different people. Core beliefs are this: our compensation plan is the driver of success. If it is not done right, it is a cause for failure. It is a failure from either low production volume or people not sticking around. High level, most sales reps will work as hard as they need to get their baseline income needs covered. Depending on the market, that's going to be between $50,000 and $75,000 of income. And then they ease off the gas because they're comfortable. My bills are paid. I got a little bit of spending money. And I would say 70 to 80% of performers are going to hover on that mediocre mark. Your top performers, like I just ran a training out in Minnesota for an Owens Corning platinum contract. They're one of the top producers for OC in the state and leading in the country. I forget what number they are. Their two top producers are doing about $550,000 of income a year. These guys are just on it. They're hungry and they're always chasing the next win. Most don't. Those are the purple unicorns. So there's a quote an anecdote from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, that really inspired me down this road. So they were in an office setting. Here's how the story goes. They're in an office, cubicles everywhere, and they're wasting thousands of dollars a month on printer paper and printer ink because people would hit print from their computer. It goes to print in the other room. They don't go get it. So then what do? They say, hey, everybody, don't do that. Well, what happens? Nothing changes. So week goes by. They send out a memo, the official memo. Nothing happens. They put up a sign. Nothing happens. So what do they decide to do? Management gets together and say, we're hemorrhaging money on this. It's a waste. We got to fix it. So they figured out if we just put a button on the printer that says accept print job, it will solve the problem because it's going to create the environment of change. I hit print. The only way it's going to actually print is if I walk myself over there and I hit accept print job. Problem solved. So what's the takeaway of this? It is much easier to create an environment to control behavior than it is to try to manipulate behavior. And as salespeople grow, I know John from way back. John has run a big sales team. John, you know that it can be, as we say, adult babysitting. The more we have a structure in place to control the environment, that's how we get the behavior that we wish. So in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this, the core philosophy, whether you're W-2 or 1099, whether you do a base or not, your compensation, and this is funny because it's counterintuitive, when you pay less, people earn more and sell more. Watch. $2,000 average commission. I want to make 100 grand. I sell 50 roofs. Easy. No matter what, I get my $2,000 commission. If that sales rep we know is going to have a tendency to ease off the gas after their first, whatever the math would be on that, 50 to 75,000 in sales, instead, I recommend paying a lower base commission with high monthly incentives. What this does is it puts you and the sales rep, meaning the company and the sales rep, in the same hopper where your interests are aligned. So instead of the big $2,000 commission, maybe it's $1,000. And again, I know this is an average number that can be paid off the gross or paid off the profit. Generally speaking, you reach a point where this is our baseline sales needs. Let's say it's 40,000 a month. It can be a number of deals too, 5 deals, whatever you want. I always want 2 sales away from the next bonus. So if I'm at 40,000 and I hit 60,000, whatever I'm assuming a $10,000 sales average, boom, there's a $1,000 bonus. You get 2 more deals. Boom, there's a $2,000 bonus total, not in addition to, right? So then you can advertise this bonus tier that resets monthly. So there's no gimmies. Everybody can be a top earner, but it must be accomplished through volume of sales. What this does is it puts a gentle pressure on each sales rep to perform at a high level each month, so there's no handouts. That way at your monthly sales meeting, you can hand out those checks to people. Everybody sees who's performing. Everybody sees it. It's a fun victory. And the best part is you get the spouse or the significant other of the salesperson on board. Because if it's Saturday at the end of the month and they're 1 sale away from the next bonus tier, the husband, wife, girlfriend, whoever it is going to be like, honey, it's Saturday, 1 more sale, bring it in, and then let's go hang out at the beach. So you really do get this buy-in, and it creates a really fun competitive drive. And again, that way when they're not producing, because I know what it's like to spend time, the 80-20 rule, 80% of your time is spent on the lowest producers, and they have the most help they need. So first things first, before you hire, is have the right pay plan in place. I know that many of you might be thinking, well, how am I going to convince someone to come work for me when that company is paying more? I'll hit on that shortly. So first things first, make sure you have your structure set up, your sales process aligned, and your pay set up. Any questions on that before we jump into the process? Go ahead, John.
This is actually probably a bigger rock for me than what I had said originally, but when we first hired a salesman, I kind of just guessed with a system on how to do this, and I think they're actually just making very good money, but they're also doing a good job. Mm-hmm. Our number 1 sales guy sold 3 million last year, but that also tells me I should probably hire more sales guys, and they're doing too much. But do you have what is a good way to set up a salesman?
Yeah.
We give our guys a salary, a vehicle, gas cards, health insurance, and then a good commission.
Yeah, very, very good question. Cash flow is the number 1 threat for this business, as we all know. And the quote unquote best way to pay is all different. So I'll give you an example. I work with this company. They have 47 sales reps. Okay. They're doing between 25 and 35 million a year. And they pay a very high commission, and everybody's 1099. They literally don't spend a dime in advertising, not a penny. Everybody is out knocking doors. They have a website. That's the extent. They don't do pay-per-click. They don't do anything. Meanwhile, the next company that's more retail driven or has inbound leads, if those sales reps are being provided leads, it's a different structure. If they're W-2, that's going to cost you 17.5% more than paying 1099. So that needs to get factored into the commission amount. Benefits and all that, most people who are offering that do a probationary period with a sales minimum requirement. Unfortunately, most horror stories that you hear come with a salary. Most horror stories are I get paid a salary, people pay too much. I talked with a gentleman yesterday, I was paying $50,000 a year salary with a truck. Well, what's the need to go sell? Most people, their bills are paid. They might not be banking money. They still might be tight, but there's not that much pressure when the lights are on and they're fed. They got a belly full, roof over their head, bills paid. So
if you have no salary, what is a good commission on a gross?
that is, yeah, I'll go general guidelines. W-2 employee starting, I've seen everything from 5% up to 12% off the gross sale. 12% is in markets that are really high. A company in Minnesota or Florida who has some of the highest numbers in the US in terms of profit, you can pay at a different scale than if you're working in Oklahoma or Texas, because the margins are just skinnier. Same with, Mississippi, Alabama, there's skinnier margins down there. So 6% to 12% off the gross is a rough starting point. And I would always, always, always calculate it based on what they do, which I'm going to touch on in a minute, and what they're incentivized to do. So again, the environment piece, people say, hey, well, do I pay off the top, 6 to 12% of gross, or do I pay off the profit? And the answer is simple. If the sales rep is responsible for profit, pay off profit. If they are not, don't pay off profit, pay off the gross, because you want volume. So if you're doing retail work and your company has strict guidelines of your profitability requirements, your price per square, they have pricing guidelines to follow, they're not in charge of profitability. Okay, they should be paid off the gross. Otherwise, they start to, it doesn't align right because the incentives aren't aligned. Flip side, if you have a company with more loose price guidelines, or if you're doing insurance work and they are in charge of supplementing or anything like that, you want to pay off the profit because you need their focus on thinking about that job smart versus I just need to go sell a job because the company's going to take care of it, right? They're going to check for profitability, or we have our price sheet to work off of. So those numbers I've seen, depending on the sale, 30% of profit to 50%. I will tell you with every ounce of my being, do not pay 50% of profit. It's ridiculous. I know lots of companies do. I've seen it work very few times because you're married to the job for 4 or 5 years. You carry all the liability, everything. So, and again, usually that's with an overhead taken out of between 10 and 15%. So $10,000 job, 10% off the top covers overhead, material labor is deducted, and all job costs, and then 30 to 50% of that profit can get paid to the rep. Okay, it can be a slippery slope on that because this is where sales reps get this delusional seed planted in their mind of looking at it and saying, well, the company's making all this money, I should go start my own business. So even though they don't realize that all that money that's there, that's not lining the pockets of an owner because operating expenses are incredibly high. Our fund needs to be there. Our, hey, I've got bills to pay through the off season. We went to switch to W-2 at one point, and our just our salary without any other expenses was $1 million in a couple months. And that wasn't, that's cash on hand. You got to have. And we weren't in a position at that point to make the switch over winter in a northern market. So my point, run your numbers. And then the next thing that's going to dictate that is what they're responsible for. So some people call it cradle to grave, meaning they self-generate the lead, sign the business, put in the material order, run material on the job, collect final payment, do the walkthrough, all that. If they're running cradle to grave, they need to be paid more. I would recommend as fast as humanly possible to not do that. And I'll touch on that in a second. If they are doing just the first part of it, I'll give you an example. We used to do the 15% overhead and 45% profit, okay? And our sales reps were cradle to grave. Our biggest growth came when we dropped our commission by 5%. And I sat down with the team and I said, I want you to tell me what percent of your time you spend processing the job from once it's sold, putting in the order, going out there, doing the QC check, being out there on the day of install, running material if it needs to, doing the final walkthrough, certificate of completion, collecting payment. They said, I don't know, 50 to 70% of my time versus generating the business. So I said, okay, if I remove that from you, it would free up 50 to 75% of your time, almost double. So what would happen? They said, well, we'd sell a lot more. I said, great. So if you doubled your time and doubled your sales potential, would you be willing to do it for a 5% commission reduction, knowing that you wouldn't have to deal with it? And everybody but the people who weren't good at sales, who enjoyed the processing part, everybody raised their hand and said yes. What we ended up doing was hiring a production coordinator, a runner in the field, and then later on a box truck or a cargo van that was stocked with all the basics: ice, water, felt, pipe jacks, your common colors of edge metal, starter, all the things where your crew calls you at like 4 o'clock on Saturday and they're like, hey, we're just one thing shy to finish the job. And you're like, great, Beacon, ABC, SRS closes in 30 minutes and you just opened a beer because it's the weekend and now you're racing across town to get to the job. So they're the ones that kind of handle all the nightmares, and that frees up salespeople's time. The other thing is salespeople aren't numbers people. I have failed dyslexia tests time and time again. I can't tell you how many times I got a job order right. 9 out of 10 times I was wrong on something. Miscalculate this, short that. Sales reps do it. Now you got to train them on everything. So you're also training your competitors, but it's different mindsets. So the sooner that you can remove the technical side from salespeople, boost their confidence because they don't need those technical skills, you're not training competitors and you're freeing up sales talent to focus on sales. The other thing is it's a high leverage, low cost employee, should you choose to hire that in the future. Okay. Same thing with just an office admin. An office admin can be tasked with sales responsibilities to offload salespeople that bogs them down on keeping things organized. So I know that was probably more than you asked for, John, but the high level, 6 to 12% gross, changes if they're employee or not. 35 to 50% off the profit. I would err against 50%, 45 at the absolute cap. And it all would depend on your own overhead, your actual overhead, the profitability in your market, and what the sales rep is doing. So meaning, are they handling production, final invoice, walk through all that stuff or not? Does that give you enough to chew on? Because we can keep going down this rabbit hole.
What you just described is exactly what we've done over the years. We call it a roof butler. Where they manage the job. It's a project manager. We have one on every job we drive. And then we have a resource coordinator inside who's scheduling, we have an admin doing the permitting, doing the invoicing. We pay the sales guys like 6% of the gross, but they were also on salary. And then they get the benefits. So I mean, they're making good money, but I like these are good guys. We don't want to lose them either. But as we keep adding, so like I just hired a general manager. So now I'm hiring more. And you see those numbers again. As long as they keep growing, I can't complain. And it doesn't mean if I hire another salesman, I have to give them the same package per se. It can be a different setup. So that's where I'm keeping our number one guy, our number two guy, happy as we can. But I don't know. Again, I made this up in my head. Most things that I make up in my head are not good. But it's been working. The guy we took as a salesman, he had no construction experience. He's just a nice guy, and he's awesome. So.
Yeah, and on that, you can always keep your top producers set. If you do any adjustments, new people can come in on the new plan. Which I go back and forth on whether I think this is right, but I did give our seasoned guys the opportunity to switch one time. I said, this is the deal. I'm not having this conversation twice. It's not whatever's better next week and next month and going back and forth. Here's the new plan. Are you jumping on board or not? And if some said yes, some said no. And that was it. There was a line in the sand. Because change is tough and so many people feel like you're taking money away when in reality you're doubling their time, and it's hard to see that difference. So for any existing people, just feel free to grandfather them in so long as it's not threatening the company profitability. But with what you're paying at 6% with benefits in a truck, I think is very, very, very fair. Cool. Any other questions on pay before we slide into the recruiting and retention piece?
I want to follow up again on so you're saying the 6 to 12 is W-2, obviously.
Nope. I'm not saying, I'm saying a percent off the gross sale. So a $10,000 sale, 6 to 12% of the sale. Mm-hmm. The varying amount, because 6 to 12% is a pretty big difference, will depend on if they're 1099 or if they're W-2, because a W-2 employee is going to cost you roughly 17.5% more. So when you pay that commission, the company is paying you got workers' comp and the 7.5% self-employment tax that they would otherwise pay that you're now paying, and then payroll taxes and such. So that's the varying amount.
Are you giving them a base? Are you giving them a base on top of that?
I don't believe in bases personally. I know some people do, and here's the other thing: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? What works for one company doesn't work for another, And I don't believe that there's a one size fits all solution. If it were me, I don't pay a base. And the one thing I will caution for everybody, which I've been hearing a lot lately, oh, I'm just going to pay a base for 6 weeks and then it'll go away. I'll go commission only. And to me, it is ludicrous. It's insanity. Hey, honey, I just got this new job. I get paid for 6 weeks and then they don't pay me anymore. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't, because that doesn't exist anywhere, right? Which I know financial advisors, some of them you can get that or keep you starved base, and then it goes away as your book of business grows. But it's a very, very dated concept. Instead, we talked about dangling the carrot, the performance incentives to get the behavior. You can pay consistently because they need cash flow just like we do, but you tie it to performance. Okay. You sign in, you turn in a deal, storm or retail, doesn't matter. Here's a fixed dollar amount for that deal. Okay. What we did was $100 when it was turned in and $250 in advance when there was a check collected. Okay. So if it was an insurance job, 100 for the contingency, 250 for the deposit. If it was a retail job, straight $350, balance due upon completion. They keep their pipeline full, which is the behavior that we want. They make a base off of that and the commissions come on the tail end. So that's the way I've handled it, because it creates the habit of chasing the right behaviors versus here's money for nothing. Does that answer your question, Andrew?
Yeah, we're on the 10-50-50 model and we're trying like everything to get off of it. We're just having a hard time transitioning. So yeah, it's killing us. It's killing us. So yeah.
I have a question, and I think we're all in different markets where we're never going to have to worry about competing against each other. And what John is describing, John, you've got a very, very aggressive pay plan there. You don't have to share this if you don't want to, and I respect if you don't. What kind of margins are you getting that allow you to pay a base and all those other incentives along with those higher types of commissions on the gross profit?
We're doing good. We're making money. We're in it. You guys are in a lot different of a market. In our market, we deal with a lot of chucking of trucks, so we are not the cheapest price. But again, when you look at what these guys are making at the end of the year, some of them are over 200 grand a year with a truck, and there's 401k, there's all sorts of stuff. It's adding up. But it's, and where I made the mistake is I set that pace in the beginning because I didn't know if it was even going to work. So the salary or the weekly salary of things like $700 a week, no matter what. But I'll tell you,
that's a salary, or is that a guaranteed draw against commission, or that's a flat out salary?
Salary.
So if I don't get out of bed for 2 weeks, I make $1,400.
But I can tell you this: the guys that are doing that, they're working 60, 70. They're working 60 hours a week. I don't even track. I don't have to pay attention. I can't keep up with the production, but they're good. No. And they're and these are people I've known my whole life. So I view it as more of they're basically part of the company. Mm-hmm. But I just want to, again, we're talking retention. I would never want to think I'm not paying somebody good. I want everybody in the office, everybody working for us, even our subs. We'll pay our subs a little bit more so they're loyal to us and they come to us first. And when I say I really don't want you working for that other guy because we're bidding against him every day and it makes us look stupid when you did the one across the street and then you do the one for us across the street, they say, okay, no problem. And they work for us because we treat them good and we pay them good.
Yeah.
We've got a decent culture with that, For now, who knows, everybody could quit tomorrow.
Yeah. And again, this is the thing, John B. There's stuff I'm seeing that people are doing that works in one market and not the other. Right. Cash flow stuff. I'm like, how can you afford to do this? And others don't. And John Henderson clearly has some culture now. I wouldn't put the cash flow in that financial risk into a new hire out of the gate unless I was very damn sure they were going to succeed, because if they go 6 weeks and fail, I'm horrible at math, whatever that number equals, it's a lot, plus all of your time and getting them ramped up. So
my thing is what we have is working with these specific guys, so I can't go backwards with them. And I did go backwards a little bit in the beginning. Their salary used to be a little higher. And we hired admin, we hired all these people so they didn't have to do all of it because they used to take it from start to finish, But again, they're self-motivated guys that are just great team players, so it's working, but I can't see us doing that with other people. And as far as our market goes, most of the guys we go against don't even have salesmen. And we truly don't even like to be called salesmen. We try to say we're consultants or we're doing this or that because we don't want to look like the big box store that's coming in, which we're not. So we've got a weird
estimators or
so our thing in our market, like you said, everybody's copying us now. So now on Facebook, right, I can see all our competitors are starting to advertise for salesmen. Some of them have just hired them because they weren't doing sales. They were going out beating each other up over price. And that was their sales process, you know? So that's kind of the weird thing. So that's what I'm trying to get ahead. We're trying to stay ahead of them because we have been, but now they're copying everything we do. So now they're hiring sales guys. So we'll see what happens.
well, the good thing there though is that if their overhead goes up, they got to start raising their prices.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know,
So that's
down here. When I first got down here 3.5 years ago, it was a race to the bottom. Who could be the cheapest shingle shuffler? You know, and we're starting to see. You know, there are some people now starting to ask for some money, and that raises everybody. And you know, your bottom feeders are always going to be there, but it's, again, I want to hog the show here, but you know, trying to find that balance between profitability and compensation.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I'll have a salesperson come to me with a competitive quote that is what it costs us to build the job. Like, how in the heck can you sell it for that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got a couple guys like that. We've got guys that are so low we can't even compete with, and we call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and downloads. To say, I don't know what they're not doing that we're doing, but we and we have seen Jim I actually think is helping us with our marketing to get away from those guys, and we're competing against different people through the marketing. But we have one company, it's a third generation company, and I'll talk to the guy because I'll see his prices and say, bro, $320 a square, we're never under $420, $440. Oh, but I'm going against so-and-so. We just won the job, and I see your proposal. You're $2,000 cheaper than us. I'm telling you to raise your prices because you're hurting you and you're hurting me. Like,
right.
But I don't know.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. So
Yeah. In the interest of getting through as much as we can, is it cool if we charged into the next topic real quick?
I'll mute. I know you're saying that. I might get
No, that's not. We could go into this for days.
Good.
I love this stuff. I know everyone's at different places, so I want to make sure everyone leaves with a little bit to roll with. So we covered a lot on pay, and it's clear that it's very important. I want to talk now about the biggest mistakes in hiring. Going back to what I started off with, it starts on the hiring ad and the interview process. Key mistakes are this: sounding desperate, sharing too much information in the ad, making the ad sound like a job description, and using all the red flag words: door to door, self-generate, commission only, things like this. If you say any of that and people read it, they freak out and they don't go. They say, I ain't applying to this. That's not what I want to do. So what we need to do conceptually is get people excited about the opportunity to raise their hand. Then we qualify them to make sure they're the right fit, which I'll talk about in a second. Then we move on to selling them on us. So if you go in there, and I just met with a company the other day and he showed me his ad. He spent $1,000 on ads between Indeed and LinkedIn. He has 4 applicants. And I said, show me your ad. It was like 8 lines. It said commission only and door to door. And I was like, maybe that's why, right? You don't want to sell the new F-250 Platinum with the manual. You sell the sizzle, not the steak. And with hiring ads, so many people just they're like, oh, I got to hire. And they type up a quick thing and they put it out there. So the most effective ads that I've seen do 2 things. One is they target the right person. We'll talk about that really quickly. There are 4 types of people I want to hire. Industry veterans, which by the way, this is in reverse order. I do everything I can to avoid industry veterans. The only ones that I'll consider are the ones that seek us out because of your reputation. These guys and gals are not on job boards anyway, looking for a job. They're at the supplier. They see the signs. They know who they want to sell for. Okay. They have bad habits and unrealistic expectations of pay. Avoid like the plague, and never, ever, ever try to compete to win someone over by paying them more to get them on your side, because 9 out of 10 times they're not worth what they promised you. You can tell I might have had a bad experience or 2. Second one, these are other salespeople. I love hiring these kinds of people. car sales, cell phone sales, door-to-door sales, Kirby vacuums, window sales, hardwood flooring sales, cell phone sales. I have a guy who excelled from being a shoe sales manager at I forget what shoe company, but he was in an outlet mall. The guy did great. The difference is they have bad habits that need to be broken, but it's a lot. They're wired in sales. They're excited about the earning potential. So those are, which one, where was I? 4. So we did salespeople from the industry, salespeople outside the industry. Then we have what I call green beans. These are the people like how I fell into it. No sales experience. I'm sick of a dead end job and I'm broke and I need a change. So before I fell into this, I was earning $20,000 a year, living below the poverty line, literally. And I had a breaking point. I had to ask my mom for gas when I was 20 some years old to go visit my family for Easter. I couldn't afford to fill up my truck. And I said, this is demoralizing and demasculating. I need to make a change. Find out roofing sales, you can earn 6 figures. And I went all in because I was fueled by starvation, which is the best motivation in the world, because failure is not an option. There's no cushion. I had $2,000 in my name, 6 weeks to make a sale collector. I was going broke. Okay. And those are great people to have on your team. My top 2 sales reps, one of them, his last year of school was 8th grade. He was a former methamphetamine user and he was kicked out of the Amish community. If he sent me his resume, which one reason, by the way, I don't accept resumes, I'll share on that in a second. He was great. Next guy was a truck driver. Okay. Resumes mean nothing. This industry is a rock bottom saving point for lots of people. All right. So those are green beans. The people who have no industry experience, want to make a change and earn some real money and didn't have a degree. The final one is recent college graduates. Every market's different, but a lot of these folks are tech savvy. I know we deal with some of the millennial stereotype stuff. You will have that. At the same time, the hungry ones are the ones that aren't married, they don't have kids, and they are willing to work sun up to sundown 7 days a week because they are driven for success. And they also realize that they got a degree, and most degrees aren't going to lead to a direct position or a high paying position. Most, unless they're specialists, if they're in the sciences or something like that, or technology, it's a different story. But psych degrees, social worker degrees, lots of those. A lot of people in this industry from fitness backgrounds that wanted to be personal trainers or physical therapists. So those are the main types of people. And obviously, when we look at green beans, I know I'm backpedaling one step to these people without experience, people who have great customer service skills, hospitality and restaurant workers, fantastic pool to pull from. And don't be afraid to start having conversations with people who treat you well when you're out having a meal or you buy a new car or do something else. Talk to them about their earning potential. A lot of people in this industry from car sales, because they didn't like working 6 days a week, 18-hour days, standing on their feet, working for piddly commissions when they could triple their income and work half the time. So those are the 4 types of people, and your ad should speak to that type of person. Okay. This isn't just a blanket ad hiring roofing salespeople, right? It's like, hey, are you looking to make a change? Maybe you've been in a dead end job. You're tired of earning the same amount, no matter how hard or how little you work. If you're looking to make some very serious money, we'll train you up. No experience needed. My name's John and I'm with so-and-so company. I'm looking to add people to my team. I'm more interested in you as a person rather than your resume and your experience. We're going to train you up the right way, give you all the skills you need to hit your own personal goals. We have a great competitive culture, benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3, incentives, whatever else it is. And it will read like a personal letter to that individual. So if I'm reading it, it would feel like someone wrote me in that email. Okay. And I ran this style ad for myself, by the way, the other day to hire a new person for our company. I got 104 applicants in 24 hours. Okay. I had to turn the ad off. Now, I know roofing sales is different, and I don't expect anyone's going to see that kind of success because I was hiring an admin. Very different labor pool. Okay. But my point is that ad separated itself than the generic one that looks like a job description. Hiring roofing salespeople for a company. Your responsibilities include, and then it's like, I mean, does anyone here think sales reps have a high attention span? No. Do they pay attention to details? No. So write the ad to get them excited about the opportunity. That's it. Words like high earning potential. Average earner is going to do X dollars to X dollars in their first year. We promote from within. Okay, performance-based pay, that substitutes the word commission or commission only. Never use the word commission in an ad. People that aren't familiar with it, it is a foreign concept. People understand performance-based pay. Do good, get paid good. That's what they think, okay? So we want to run the right ad. Next, on the ad, have them call you. I know you might be thinking, oh, my phone's going to ring off the hook. It probably won't. And if it does, that's great. It's a great problem to have. A resume means nothing. We all know you will spend 2 hours sorting through your resumes. You're going to pick 5. You're going to get in touch with those 5. 2 will even respond. 1 will come in for an interview, and that person may or may not show up. Does this sound familiar? Okay. Resumes mean nothing. I truly don't even look at them, and I tell them, don't even bother sending your resume. Call me. I do this for 2 reasons. Reason 1, they're in sales. If they don't have the guts to pick up the phone and dial, they will not succeed. This is a quality game versus a quantity game. Tell you right now, I do not believe in group interviews. Many people do. Many people in my position are going to say group interviews are the greatest thing since sliced bread. To date, I've yet to talk with a company who has high retention on group interviews. Group interviews will bring lots of people in. You will throw mud at the wall, and very little mud's going to stick. And you're going to piss off all of the people that they interacted with because they're giving a very inaccurate perception of your brand and your company to lots of people, and they leave a nightmare that you don't even find out about till weeks after they're gone of who talked to who and what was left where. Okay, so no group interviews. My belief, if you're doing it and it works, again, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So I get them to call. This gives me an opportunity to see if they have guts. And number 2, how decent they are on the phone. If I get someone that calls, say, hey, I'm calling about that. I think I saw an ad somewhere. Like, then I'm like, okay, nope, not going to fly. So that's reason 1, vet them quickly. Reason number 2, I ask them the qualifying questions. I do not say a word about the position. I have made all these mistakes myself. I'm not some saint who came in with all the answers. Okay. I am far from godly. I have been lied to, cheated from, stolen from, beaten up, and duped more times than I could wish to admit. And it's all because I sold them on it. They call up, oh man, you got to come work for us. It's going to change your life. I fell into this business. I 6 times, 7 times my income in the first 8 months. It's going to do the same for you. Come, when can you get in here? Right. And I'm selling them straight out of the gate because I'm excited. A lot of companies do this. So instead of that, I say, hey, thank you for calling. Is it okay if I ask you a few quick questions? They say yes. Do you have a valid driver's license? Okay. I don't want someone with 9 DUIs with no driver's license driving around with my truck magnets on. So number 1, do you have reliable and insured transportation? Yes or no? Are you comfortable with us running a background check? I don't care if you do background checks or not. There may be times that you need to, and I have had sexual predators apply multiple times that I looked into. And of course, I don't want to be sending someone into someone's home and then find out something happens. And then, we're in jail for jeopardizing people's lives. So can we run a background check? Can you climb a ladder? And can you lift 50 pounds? It's amazing how many people will apply for a roofing position and they can't climb a ladder, or they're afraid of heights, or they have an injury. I'm all for supporting all. I don't care who you are, as long as you can meet the requirements of the job, but the reality is it's part of the job. And the final piece is when do you want to start? Or when are you able to start? If they say I'm looking in 6 months, it's a different conversation than I could start tomorrow. If all 5 of these are peachy keen and they're decent on the phone, then we bring them in for the interview. If they're not, you can do one of 2 things. Hey, thanks for calling. We do have these requirements. Sounds like it's not a good fit. Or you can just kind of brush them off and say, hey, thank you for calling. We'll follow up with next steps if we see you're a good candidate, and then you're done. But this will save you. I call it trimming the fat fast. Okay. Right ad, speaking like pretend as you're writing it to one person on the other side of your screen about the opportunity to work with you and pump up your company and the excitement and the drive and the potential. Get them to call, screen them. If they're good, bring them in. We all tracking so far? Cool. This is where it gets fun. John, you said everyone interviews well. I know, they do. I have been sold more times than I wish to admit. I have been duped because people interview well and they tell you what the right answer is, because we're all half smart humans. So how would you handle a situation when a customer was yelling at you? Well, I would treat them with a tremendous amount of respect, and I would do this and that. And I'm like, awesome. And that just validated what I wanted them to say, because I'm desperate to hire someone. So then I give them a chance, and they aren't worth the paper of their resume. And I did have a guy, by the way, sell me on this. And we went out and ran our first lead together. He was a fellow roofing salesman from another company, sought us out. Said he was great, interviewed great, like John said, brought him on. I ran his first lead with him so we could learn our approach. And then I said, hey, while we're here, let's go knock doors. You would have thought he saw a ghost. I mean, he went white. I'm like, we're here. we have a hot lead from a referral. Why are you back at your truck when there's neighbors we can talk to? And he was horrified and outdoors. I should have fired him. I never did. He ended up going bankrupt. He earned $20,000 in the year working with us. And now I don't allow that because that's on me. He was 1099, that's on him. It's on me. I can't let someone fail. It's my job to say, you're not going to succeed for your own well-being. We're done, because you could earn more money flipping burgers in less time. So once they're in for the interview, this is the interview style I teach. If there's one thing you take away from this, actually two. First is the ad, and the second is this interview process, okay? What I'm looking for in this interview are 5 profile traits. When I say profile traits, think Michael Jordan. I can teach anyone to shoot a basketball. Michael Jordan has an innate talent that no one else does, period. These are natural born talents. Some of these can be developed, but 1 in 10 will develop them, okay? They're the purple unicorn. So here's the 5 talents I look for. A hustler. What I mean by a hustler is someone who is willing to put in the work and go after it. Okay. I don't mean working hard, grinding. I don't mean any of the kitschy stuff. I mean that they are willing to put in the sweat equity to materialize their dreams. Okay. The next is that they're persuasive. I want to see that they have some ability and some guts to have a conversation and bring someone to a new conclusion that they didn't have before. It doesn't necessarily mean to be sales skills. They don't need sales experience to be persuasive, but they have to have an inkling of it. Next is persistent. We all know the people. Oh, I went through that neighborhood. If anyone here has a team knocking doors, retail, storm, doesn't matter. Oh, I already went through that neighborhood. No one was home. Okay. Well, you didn't talk to anyone. That means you need to go back, right? What level of persistence do you have? Every sales rep who I've interviewed who has been a massive success in their first year, and I've interviewed lots, they say that the 2 keys to their success were consistency and persistence. Okay. So I'm looking for, are they persistent by nature? Or are they lazy quitters? Okay. So we have hustler, persuasive, persistent. Next is confident. You can read confident body language. When you have a sales rep come interview and they won't even look you in the eye, don't even bother. If they're sheepish, if they hold themselves like this, if the way they carry themselves doesn't meet what you believe to be confident personality, they're not confident, and they're going to crumble in this field. Even if you provide leads, they're going to crumble, because in-home sales brings out the absolute crazy of a person, because you are in their home, in their environment, and when things go wrong, there's no filter. Has anyone dealt with crazy situations in a house? Yeah, a couple of head nods. It happens, and it's not blaming anyone. It's more emotional than any other type of sale, because it's inside people's homes and it's on their homes. Okay. So then what did I just say? Confidence. Last one is, are they thick-skinned? Can they handle rejection? This industry, leads provided or not, as I mentioned, brings out some tough situations for people. If they don't have thick skin, they will not get out of their truck. They won't be able, their inner demons will take over, and they're guaranteed to fail. I encourage you. So I have a program where I train this. I teach you to insult the interviewee slightly. I'm not talking about over the top. Find a button. If they feel very passionately about something, challenge them on it. If they roll, you're going to see that they're not persistent, and that they're not confident, and that they're not thick-skinned, because they're the people pleaser type, right? So I find something to just gently insult them on. I want to just push a hot button because I want to see how they react. And that's going to give me insights into whether or not they're thick-skinned and if they're confident, okay? And it's okay to do this. You're creating a manipulated confrontation by design. You can breeze over it later, don't sweat it. But if they say something like, even in an interview, like, you know what, they're telling the story about how they got a customer on board after they didn't believe they should be, and they said something in a certain way. You said what? Even something like that, you're going to see if they crumble or not. You said that to them? Anything at all to catch them on their heels. If they crumble, you know, all right, this ain't going to work. Because the number one reason for turnover in this industry is the inner demon, okay? This industry is not hard at all. It is simple, but the number one obstacle for sales reps is they must embrace the fact that roofing sales is personal development in disguise. Who they are when they get into this industry is not who they will become. The number one thing holding them back is fear of rejection, fear of knocking a door, fear of not saying the right things, fear of the cat got their tongue. And as a company culture, it's very important to encourage growth personally, okay? So, last thing, interview style. And I know we're about 5 minutes up here. My interview style is unlike anything you've probably seen. I don't do a traditional interview. I sit someone down, I say, hey, John, thanks for coming in. I'm really excited to chat with you. This is going to be an interview unlike anything you've probably seen before. And I just want to get to know you a little bit. So, and then all I do is ask them to tell me stories, and I guide which ones. John, you know, this is a really fun industry. It's fast paced, and I just want to see if this is a good fit. So I'm just curious, you know, you told me you were in car sales. Tell me about a time that you had a customer come in and you know, they weren't ready to buy, but you got them to get the car that day. What's going to happen is they're digging in their memory bank, and they're going to tell you a story. When people tell stories, they tell the truth. If I said, how would you handle a situation that's a hypothetical? This is why people interview well. But when they tell you a story about being challenged, tell me a story about a time you worked really hard to get what you wanted. Let's say you're 21 years old, you wanted to get somewhere. Tell me that story. Okay. Tell me the time where you were an athlete and this went, you know, you had a challenge you went to get here. Tell me about a time that you faced the most uncomfortable confrontation of your life. All I'm doing is listening to their story, and I have all 5 of those profile traits: hustler, thick-skinned, persuasive, persistent, and confident, written down, and I am checking yes or no to each. That's it. Story's over. When I get my answer, I move on to the next one. It gets them leading the dialogue versus us selling them on the position too soon, because mistake I've made, maybe you guys have as well, is they get in and I'm just like, I do most of the talking in an interview. I mean, I did that, and it's so silly to think about. My job is to find out if they're good for me, not, you know, the other way around. So first step, do they have all 5? If they don't, end the interview. If you have that glaring no, they have to have all 5. If they don't, I bet you every penny in my name, they will not succeed. So don't even bother with any more. Just say, hey, you know, thank you for coming in. We'll let you know what's going on. Or you can even say it's not a good fit. But that's respectful of their time. It's respectful of your time. Now, assuming they do have all 5, this is where we say, all right, we talked about retention. That means having the right person on board. This is how we get the closest we can to that. So we know all those key breaking points are out of the way. If they have all 5, now I turn into selling them on us. This is what we call prizing the company. Because you and I both know, just like homeowners get estimates, they're going to talk to other people because they heard about all this money you can make in roofing. So they're going to talk to you, this company, and this company. And we need to overcome their objections, which is the pay piece. Well, that guy's going to pay me more. What about you guys? What do you guys, you know, people get looking at the numbers, and that's it. And it's a false narrative that they're telling themselves because, you know, the complaint in this industry is not getting paid. Or a company that doesn't fulfill on their word, doesn't take care of customers, all that stuff. By the way, I had a sales rep email me the other day. His company owes him $100,000 and he still hasn't gotten paid. Working Hurricane Laura because they're cash poor. Can't afford to pay him. Bad things happen. So at this point, I prize the company, and this is how I sell them on us. All right. Listen, what we're going to do on day 1, which by the way, I encourage you to do more on this in another time. Create a daily sales plan for the sales rep based on his or her income goal. You're investing in their growth. They put down their commitment to you. When you sit down at your monthly review and their sales aren't up to snuff, it's a different conversation to say, hey, Jim, your sales really are underperforming. And if you don't pick it up this year or this month, you're gone. Versus, hey, Jim, when you first met our company, we went down, we put together your income goal. You want to make 100,000 this year, and you're not on track to do that. How can I do that? How can I help? Well, let's get this thing turned around. Lifting up, disciplinary. Okay. I have a formula that I follow, by the way, where they can enter in baseline income needs, goal, stretch goal, shows them annual, monthly, weekly, daily, how many sales appointments that will equal, and then the sales activities to generate those appointments. Now they have that plan and they're bought in, they're vested. And this allows you, Andrew, when you brought up the base pay, to show them, hey, you want to get to this 100K mark? If you do this, if you hit these numbers based on our draw structure, this is what you should expect to get. Will it be easy? No, look, you can do it. Okay. Then our job, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit here since we have 1 minute left. I'm going to fast forward to the point of retention. Roofing sales is a drug. If you don't get them their first hit, they're going to quit. Money talks. Money is how they buy in and believe. What I would do with a rep is go in the field. They'd shadow me after our office training. I would sign a deal up on a lead or go knock doors. I'd sign it and I would hand it to him or her and say, congratulations, this is your first check. And this does two things. They will go to war for you when you hand that to them. Number two, they get paid. So they have confidence in their significant other believes in it, that it's a real opportunity and not some internet scam. And number three, it made your life a whole lot easier because now you have a direct job to train them on versus, Mike's got production today. He's got an adjuster. He's picking up colors. And then and then it's just chaos. So you give them the hit. You have the right person, higher chance of retention and success because the turnover starts early. It's not 6 months in, it's 6 weeks. And our biggest job is to get that quick win in. All right, I'm going to shut myself up. And I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes if anyone has time for any outstanding questions, because I know I brought it right up to the wire and beyond. Thank you for everyone's time.
Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.